He's coming, right?
I just texted.
We got a big night, so we might as well start. If there's any questions, we can table to that. Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the August 2015 ZBA Town of Carmel meeting. The board members' names are all in front of you. Mike Carnazza, our Codes Enforcement Officer, is with us tonight, and Joe Charbonneau will be here shortly. He's town counsel for us. The way we hear the cases is you present the case in front of the board, you come up, I'll swear you in. Only those who are going to speak need to be sworn in. If not, stay silent. And then when we hear all the cases, we'll adjudicate, at which time there's no input from the public when we close the cases, or close the hearings. So at this point, please join me for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. All right, and here comes Joe, now our town council. First case tonight is Richard Deal. You are. State your name for the record, gentlemen.
Michael Borelli, contract vendee, Mr. Deal, Mrs. Deal, and my daughter,
All
Emily.
right, are you all planning on speaking?
No.
Whoever's going to speak, just please raise your right hand. Swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, nothing but the truth, so help you God.
Yes.
Thank you. All right, let us know what's going on.
Do you want us to put a map up?
Yeah, that would help. Yeah, so the camera can pick it up as well.
This is a big deal.
Mike, do you have two? You have two?
Get it?
Yeah.
You didn't get it at first.
Wobble.
Pretty stupid if it falls apart while we're sitting at it.
We're working so hard.
Screw in this thing, will you? Have Rob Bear fix this. Collapse.
Okay, this is for a piece of property that Mr. and Mrs. Deal own off Croton Falls Road, about an eighth of a mile down on the left-hand side. Mr. Deal, 72-year resident, born and raised in the town of Carmel. Mrs. Deal, the same thing, 48, not 72, 48-year resident.
Careful there.
Both born in the town of Carmel. They owned three pieces of property. The first parcel was a 15-acre piece that was sold to a neighbor. You want to point it out? Was sold to the Bruins over here.
We don't have the front microphone here. All right, Mike, just do the best you can through the microphone so we can pick it up on the recording.
Excuse me?
Just speak as much as you can into the microphone, because we
Okay.
usually have the handheld. I don't know where it is tonight.
The first piece of property was three separate pieces of property next to each other. The first 15-acre piece, which is not shown on this map because it was already sold to a neighbor, was all the way to the right. The second piece, which is their main residence now, which my daughter is contract vendee on, is the piece to the left, the overlapping piece right here, and the house is down in the front over there. The third piece, the big piece, which you see on the new map, is a 30-acre piece where Dickie and Rose like to build their retirement home. Originally, there was 61 acres. They got rid of 15. They're going to retain 30. She's going to retain 16, plus or minus an eighth of an acre. They have full Board of Health approval on a single-family home. That's all they want to build on a 30-acre piece. Easements have been reviewed by the town attorneys. There should be, in my mind, as a former developer, zero impact on any neighbors. The closest neighbors to the house that's being built off of Stacy Lane, a development that I actually did about 20, 25 years ago, up on top. And those houses are more to the front of the properties on Stacy Lane, and they have about 200 feet in the backyards. Dickie's house, the closest it'll be to the rear property line, is a little over 200 feet. So there's over 400 feet separation from anybody, and 10-acre separation in the front from Croton Falls Road. You shouldn't be able to see the house from anywhere on Croton Falls Road or anywhere on Stacy Lane. You might see a light, at night in the woods, a reflection. But that's really it. They want privacy and they want quiet. They want to, be able to spend the rest of their lives in the town. And my daughter would like to raise a family in the town. So that's pretty much all of it.
So basically, you're landlocked with the
It's
frontage
landlocked. They
issue.
have, I'll show where it comes in right there. That's the easement through the city of New York's property, which was granted to the original farm of Ella Wright. This is an original piece of the Ella Wright farm,
Okay.
which was passed down 2 times, then to Mr. Deal. So the right-of-way passes through to the main part of 16 acres. Emily is going to give them a right-of-way for utilities and access over maybe eighth of an acre. And that has already been reviewed by Mr. Fischetti.
Okay, so just to set the record, there's no other property that can be purchased to bring it into conformity for frontage?
City property.
So it's all landlocked again? Okay. And there's no further subdivision planned or that's possible on this lot?
Just
Nothing's planned yet.
no
Nothing that I
further
know of.
subdivision plan, and we don't care if you even put a restriction on it. There's no future subdivision plans.
Okay. All right, we'll open up to the board. Silvio?
I have no questions.
Can you just give me an idea of where the house will be?
If you look on that picture right there,
What about on the survey,
on the survey, it's shown right there.
the other one?
It's not on that one.
Oh, that's the old property?
Just to show in relation to where it is.
Okay.
So right here, the back seat.
And there will be no area variances required?
No, it's 30 acres.
I didn't think so. Did I read something about, you have approval by New York City's DEP?
Excuse me?
You have approval for an easement by New York City
There's
DEP?
an existing easement accessing the property, which is spelled out on the lower right-hand corner, surrounded by the bold highlight. This is a piece of the original Ella Wright farm, and DEP's easement is to all pieces of it.
So you don't have to go back to DEP to get
I'm
another
going to provide Mr.
approval?
Carnazza. Mr. Carnazza would like to see something from a title company, which is not a problem.
Okay. Let's see. I guess that's it.
Phil, anything?
No questions, thank you. No questions.
Mark?
No questions.
Okay, anybody in the public wish to speak on this application? All right, I'll look for a motion to close the hearing.
Motion to close.
Second?
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you very much. Have a good evening.
You too. All right, number 2 is St. John the Evangelist. I think were you going to look to adjourn due to possible recusals?
We won't
Not
have, we
enough.
won't have a quorum.
You're not going to have quorum. If, I believe 3 members are going to recuse themselves, Joel?
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So I don't,
Michael told me so, just
I-
maybe the last guy.
I think Rose was going to reach out to you.
Nobody, no,
Not me.
Okay.
Trombetta.
No, Rose,
Trombetta,
other
she
Rose.
didn't.
okay.
Mike knows.
So, I guess we'll look for a motion to hold this over.
To vote?
No, I'll
Can't
look
even
a
vote
motion
for a
to hold this
holdover.
over by- Well, you guys need to officially recuse yourselves, I think. Right, Joe?
Just so I understand, out of the 6 members that are present, 3 plan on recusing with respect to this application?
Correct.
Yes.
Okay. Obviously, the board can't take any action because it doesn't have a quorum. So, Joel, you should speak with Rose. She'll put it on the next agenda. I don't think you need to do anything further.
Okay, so that's it.
Okay.
So,
Open it, so.
Yeah, you haven't opened the hearing.
but we should look for a holdover, or no, do I need to?
You're not even holding
You
it
don't have
over.
enough to vote
There's-
on it.
You don't have a sufficient
So
body to do
It will
anything.
carry on to next month.
We'll just have the secretary put it on the next agenda, and obviously, Joel, you're gonna wanna make sure that you've got 4 there that night.
You don't have
And
enough
just
members
as courtesy,
to
anybody,
hold it
any
over.
members
Yeah.
present now that won't recuse themselves, plan on not
Sorry,
being
but-
here next month?
I'll be here.
Mark?
I intend to be here.
Okay. You're still 6 feet above. All right, number 3 is,
Sudol. Sudol.
yeah, I'm getting to the point where I need glasses, guys. Sorry, bear with me. Number 3 is Sudol. Good evening. State your name for the record. State your name.
What's that?
Can you state your name for the record?
Oh, my name is Arkady Sula.
Okay. Raise your right hand. Swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, nothing but the truth, so help you God.
I swear.
All right, tell us what you'd like to do.
So my case is easy, I guess. I'm applying for the variance to put a second floor addition to my house, which requires to remove the existing roof and then put the new roof with the dormers and shed dormers, and it's basically increasing my living space. which
So
I'm
you're basically going up,
going
one
up,
story
yeah,
up
within
on
the
same
footprint, same footprints,
no overhangs
nothing
or
changes,
anything?
not at all.
And the issue is you have 2 frontages, which
Yes,
you're held to
which
those
is all-
standards.
Yep.
I was out there, the shed is in conformance, I didn't know where your property line was, but.
Say it again?
The shed is in conformance?
I guess so.
You have where'd Mike go?
Just walk the-
You have a permit for the shed?
Yeah.
Okay.
I think when I bought a property, the shed was on a,
Okay, is there any other property that you can buy to bring the property or the project into conformance?
no.
Okay. We'll start down on this end. Mark, any questions? No questions. Michael?
None for me.
Phil?
No questions, thank you.
Rose?
No questions.
No questions.
Okay, any public input on this application? I'll look for a motion to close the hearing.
So moved.
Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay,
Thank you so much.
All right, number 4 is Brian Riley. Joel, you're representing?
Yes. Okay, this location?
Yeah, do you have 2 one for the camera? And okay. Raise your right hand, sir. Swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, nothing but the truth, so help
I
you
do.
God. Thank you. Let us know what you're trying to do, Joel.
Okay. Mr. and Mrs. Riley have had this house for several years now, and basically what they wish to do is, if you've gone to the site, in the rear of the site, in this area over here, there's an existing one-car garage. What they'd like to do is to take down the garage, put in a breezeway for like a mudroom and closets for boots and umbrellas and stuff like that. And then to create a 2-car garage on the left side, which is directly in line with the existing driveway. We are asking for variance of front and side yard. The side yard faces the Lakeview Elementary School parking lot, and on the rear, where there's a 10-foot setback. If you've been to the site, again, this site is much lower, and there's a tremendous amount of screening there, and we're opposite a garage, and the house has no windows to that side anyway. So basically, we're asking for the 2 variances, side yard and rear yard.
I was up there Saturday. It seems like the most logical spot for a garage. It's screened between the school and the hill drops off. There's no additional property that can be purchased to bring it
No,
into conformity.
again, school's on one side. I don't think the school's going to give up any property.
And on the
Right,
right,
Rose?
on the right side of the property is septic up there, and
Yes, yes.
so it's pretty much a no-brainer. All right, Silvio,
My only question was about the septic, and you asked it, so.
Rose?
No questions. I was out there. I saw the dip, the steep drop, and
At the
there's no
school.
other place.
Phil?
Is there a reason why they need the breezeway?
Yes, because they like to have the connection to the, again, the breezeway is basically in the same area where the existing garage was. In fact, it's a little bit narrower, so actually, the new breezeway will be further away from the property line than than the existing garage, excuse me.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
All right, Mike?
No questions for me.
Mark?
No questions.
All right, anybody in the public have input on this application?
I have one more question, Joel.
Yeah,
Will
sure.
it retain the screening on the side by Lakeview?
Oh, yes.
Okay.
Oh, absolutely, absolutely.
I think there was a fence there and then the screening was
Fence
on
there, and the screening is behind it,
Yeah,
yes.
I just want to make sure it's screened.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, I'll look for a motion to close the hearing on this
So moved.
application. Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Joe.
Number 5 tonight is John Nuppel, if I pronounced that correctly. Sorry if I did.
It was pronounced Knuppel. I'm Mary Stopes. I am Mr. Knuppel's designated power of attorney.
Okay, do me a favor, speak into the microphone and
Designate-
raise your
okay.
right hand. Swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God.
I do.
I'm sorry, state your name again for the record. I don't think it-
Mary, last name is Stopes, S-T-O-P-S.
Okay. Let us know what you're looking to do here, Mary. Thank you.
We're looking for a 4-foot, 4-inch sideline variance. Mr. Knuppel had his cabana built too close to the property line. It was built in 1968.
Oh, the cabana was built in 1968?
Yes,
And it never
the
got
house
picked
was
up?
built in 55, the cabana was built in 68.
And it just, what, got picked up on a title search? Are they trying to sell the house?
Yeah, we're attempting to sell the property because I have to pay back the mortgage I took for his home care.
Okay. And there's no other property you can purchase to bring it into conformance?
No,
Can the cabana be relocated?
it houses all the pool equipment, so the pool equipment also would have to be relocated.
And it's on a foundation, on the concrete. I was up there Saturday. I saw the
Yeah,
concrete and the foundation for it. I mean, it was pretty well screened back there, and it drops off into a hill, and there's another hill going back down. Bare of a driveway, but, any input from the board? Mark?
No questions.
Mike?
None for me.
Phil?
No questions, thank you.
Rose?
No questions, it's very well screened, so I don't have any issue with it.
Sylvia?
No questions.
All right, any input from the public on this application? I'll look for a motion to close the hearing.
Motion to close.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
thank you.
Thank you. Number 6, Barbaro, they, we're looking for an adjournment to next month. Do I have a motion?
Motion to hold it over?
John, I'll be recusing myself, so I can't vote on the holdover.
Okay, that's fine. We have enough here, unless someone else is recusing. Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All right, thank you. Number 7, Sobieski.
If it's not a true one.
State your name for the record, please.
Christopher Sobieski.
Raise your right hand. Swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, nothing but the truth, so help you
Yes,
God.
I do.
Thank you, sir. Let us know what you're looking to do.
I'm looking to erect a storage shed along my lakefront parcel for boat equipment, canoes, et cetera.
Done 100 times.
All right, and it's not an area variance.
It's not a true use variance either. It's not the typical use variance. This is the one where they have a lot with no house on it. It's a beach lot. There's no house there, so they're looking for a variance to put just a shed when they have already a dock, I believe, down there, and what else is down there? That's it, right?
A dock and a retaining wall.
Yeah, retaining wall.
Parking area.
Similar to some of the ones by, where Clark Place comes into 6N.
Right. So,
By saying that, we don't have to go through the whole, right, okay.
He's not gonna be able to prove that, so there's no way. I mean,
Right,
that's-
right,
that's
exactly.
not-
That's why I was asking.
so there's no criteria.
No, there is, but, I mean, he has to
Area
tell you what
variance
he's doing and why.
Okay. Chris, the shed's gonna be used for
Storage.
storage, toys, lawnmowers, what have you.
Correct.
And, I mean, it's shown right on the drawing between the two bearing walls. You're gonna build that into the hillside, I guess?
Yes, the retaining walls actually need quite a bit of repair if anyone was out there to see it, so that's going to also be submitted as a building permit, and we're going to build it setback into that wall area.
Okay. Any input from the board? Silvio?
No questions.
Rose?
What is the size of the shed and the height?
It's approximately 18 feet long, 10 feet deep, and the height to the peak would be about 10 foot to the top of the bridge from the ground.
So, this is the only one that I drive past every day that I didn't look for. Is there a drop?
There's quite a drop.
Wouldn't have seen it anyway.
The grade
wouldn't see it?
difference from the
It drops
parking,
down.
you may see, you might see the crown of the
before it
roof,
drops
but
down
that's
like
about it.
Okay.
It drops down
I
quite a bit.
I drive by there every day, and I kept saying, I'm gonna look, and I didn't.
You can't even stop.
It's on a hairpin turn.
It's on a bad
anyway.
turn.
Difficult spot to
Okay.
pull.
Yeah, it's in a really bad spot.
Okay.
I mean, the only concern would be views, but 10-foot high is not that tall. I don't think you'll even reach the top of the
The
roadway
grade
anyway.
difference from actually the parking area to the waterfront, I believe, is 8 feet.
Okay.
You'll barely see the
So
top of this thing.
that's not gonna be a problem, as far as views go.
Vegetation, yeah.
All right, Phil, anything?
Questions answered, thank you.
Guys down here?
Mike, so these are similar to other variances that we've granted before?
Yes. There's 3 of them, I believe, right next to each other on where Clark comes into 6N.
Yeah.
And same criteria was used. There was not, I mean, it is a use variance, but it's not a use variance for a use that's not.
Permitted.
He could have gone to the planning board and tried to do a boathouse, bathhouse, something like that, but that's not what his use is. It's just a storage building.
No further questions.
All right, you're good, Mark? Any public input on this application? I'll look for a motion to close the hearing.
So moved.
Seconded by?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
All right, number 8, Carmel Fire Department.
Good evening.
Good evening. Are you guys attorneys?
I'm an attorney. I have my 2 engineers with me. If you're going to swear us all in at
I'll need
once,
to
I would-
swear you in as you're by law.
Yep.
And you 2 gentlemen, you're going to be speaking. Please raise your right hands.
they may have to answer some questions, so I figured it'd be
Okay,
easier
just
to have
covered
them
anyway.
swear 'em in. Yep.
Raise your right hand, swear to
Put it
tell
from
the
the
truth, the
outside
whole
of the
truth,
pole
and
instead
nothing
of
but the
inside.
truth?
I
So
do.
help you God. And state your names for the record, or you can cover them all.
I'll fix this.
Paul Papay.
Rob Bertona.
Okay, and you are?
Good evening, Chairman. Robert Gaudioso with the law firm of Snyder and Snyder.
Okay, thanks, Robert. Bring us through the situation here and let us know what's up.
Sure. I represent Sprint Corporation. Sprint seeking to co-locate on the existing tower at the Carmel Fire Department. They're proposing to place 3 antennas on the outside of the tower and 2 equipment cabinets and related equipment at the base of the tower. The zoning board granted 2 variances back in 2004. One was a height variance to allow the 120-foot height, and the other was a rear yard setback variance because the proposed facility had encroached into the 30-foot setback. I think it was at 20 feet. Sprint's equipment will meet the setback, so the setback's not an issue. What the building inspector has determined is that because the antennas are on the outside of the tower, that therefore the variance has to be amended, and we've requested that amendment. We've also asked for an interpretation on 3 grounds. One, that the variance runs with the land and that we're not actually in violation of the 120-foot variance because Sprint's antennas are actually way down on the pole at about 75 feet. The second reason is we cited some case law in our memo that a condition like that would have to be clearly spelled out for you have to come back and get an amendment, and that condition wasn't a condition, it was just part of the application that the antennas for T-Mobile at the time would be inside the tower. And the third reason is basically pretty straightforward in that the code limits the height to just buildings, and the definition of a building is basically a structure with a roof used to enclose things, and the antennas are not a building, and we cited some case law, and it's in the memo. But more importantly, what we did submit, in addition to the memo of law, we submitted the affidavit from Mr. Bertona. He's the engineer showing the need for Sprint to provide reliable service in this area. Sprint is a federally licensed carrier deemed a public utility under New York state law, so the variance standard's a little different for Sprint. It's a much more relaxed standard. In essence, all of Sprint's competitors are at this site. T-Mobile's at the top, AT&T, Verizon, and Metro PCS, and Sprint's the last and only one that's not providing service to the area, and under the federal law, they're making this application. We also submitted a compliance report showing that the facility was safe. Actually, we took into account all of the existing antennas, plus the proposed 3 Sprint antennas, and the whole facility cumulatively would be 60 times below the applicable FCC regulation for radio frequency exposure. So the facility's safe. We also submitted, and this was really important, we submitted a report from Mr. Pape. He studied in great detail why Sprint can't go inside of the flagpole tower. And the reason basically is it was designed back in 2004 for 4 carriers, and 4 carriers already exist. So there's simply no space for Sprint's 3 antennas, and there's also no space for Sprint's 18 cables, because all of the cables for the other carriers are up inside of the pole. So we can't get either the antennas or the cables in there. So that's why Sprint's actually proposing to go way down on the pole at about 75
So the
feet.
cables are still going to be on the interior and pop through.
The cables would be on the backside of the, will be on the backside of the tower, but if we tried to extend the height of the tower and place the antennas, let me take one step back. What you have with the towers, you have basically a hollow tube. That's your tower. Then what goes up from at 75 feet is a very thin structure, metal structure. The antenna is attached to that, and then there's a sheathing around those antennas.
Okay.
There's no space in that sheathing area. We would have to extend the top of the tower. If we did that, we couldn't get the cables up there on the inside. We'd still have to go around the backside. So we'd still be having the exterior cables.
All right, so the cables are going to be exposed, or are they going to be covered?
Well,
with some
no, they'll
kind
be
of
covered with what we call a cable bridge.
And that'll be a part of the component of the pole itself?
Be on the
or is it gonna
backside
be
of the pole.
Bump out
Exactly.
on the circumference?
Exactly. And we submitted some visual renderings to you. You know, the pole itself is very difficult to see because it's set back on the property. It's surrounded by a lot of trees. The ambulance corps is in the back. Obviously, the fire department's in the front. Across the street is the gasoline station. It's in the commercial zone. What would be visible, though, are the antennas, but again, they're down at the 75-foot mark, which is way below the 120-foot height of the tower. What we also did, Mr. Chairman, if I may, we did some additional studies, and we can actually encase the antennas. And if I may hand these up, this is some additional visual renderings, if that's okay with you, Mr. Chairman.
Certainly.
So you see where we're pointing to, what we can do is we can actually encase those antennas. Now look, it will stick out from the pole because at that 75-foot mark, the pole is just a metal pole. You can't go inside of it there. But what we could do is we could encase the antennas.
How are you going to get the flag down to replace the flag when you need to, if they
We'll
have to?
take down the flag.
Yeah, but how are you, right now you have I don't know what they call it, but the sleeve that goes around the pole that holds the flag so it's straight?
Yeah, we would have to take down the flag is the point. We would have to remove the flag.
So there'd be no flag there?
There would be no flag, correct.
Permanently?
Had no flags.
I'm sorry?
Permanently?
Permanently, which means we would also be able to remove the lighting as well, which is currently lighting it.
All right, because I think the whole intention of this thing passing back years ago was that it was going to be a flagpole.
No, I understand, and the problem is that at the time when it was designed in 2004, there simply weren't this many federally licensed carriers. So it was designed with 4 slots. What Sprint's trying to do is not build a new tower, it's trying to co-locate with its other competitors. It's on all the surrounding sites, Sprint is, with all the other carriers, and this is the one spot where it has the gap in service.
So all the carriers lease from who? From the fire department?
There's an agreement between the fire department and the tower owner, so then the lease is to the
So the
tower
tower
owner.
owner is its own entity?
Correct.
To which all these carriers sublease?
Yes, but the main agreement is with the fire department, and the fire department obviously receives benefit for that.
Was the planning board told that there was going to be no flag on this?
I don't know if we ever got to that stage yet with the planning board, because we had to come to the zoning board for a modification of the facility, of the
I don't
variance.
recall the planning board ever being advised of that, and they may have had an issue with that.
Yeah, I mean, we're not through with the planning board. If we get
Oh, I
through this
know.
process, we have to go back to the planning board, obviously.
I know, but was there, in the previous variance, was there a condition that it remain a flagpole?
No, as a matter of fact, there was not, and that's one of the cases we cite to. We specifically cite to a case which is Hoffman v. Gunther, which is a second department case from 1997. What it specifically says is that the zoning board has an obligation to clearly state any conditions imposed so that the petitioners, the neighbors, town officials may be fully aware of the nature and extent of any conditions imposed. And there was not a condition in that regard regarding a flag or interior antennas. That's one of the bases for our argument of the interpretation is that the variance does not need to be amended.
You didn't submit, when you submitted the package, the last decision in order, did you?
I'm sorry, I didn't follow the
Do we
question.
have the last
Zoning board decision.
zoning board decision that allowed the initial poll to go up?
We didn't submit it as part of the application because we thought it was on file with the town, but I do have a copy tonight if you'd like to see it.
Do you have a copy? Can
I
see
do
it?
have a copy, sure.
I'm trying to remember back when this first came through, but in my mind, the fact that it was going to remain a flagpole, showing patriotism and, you know, more of a purpose of having just a simple tower out there was kind of a big issue, or, you know, a point that would be carrying weight.
I guess my response to that would be that what we're focusing on here is the impact from the 3 antennas, and if you want to include the removal of the flag. But the point of the flagpole was to basically not have a typical monopole or lattice tower structure, that it would be a more streamlined type structure, which I believe we're still keeping
And
in.
just like we have in the property next to us, that tower was allowed for the same reason, because it had a flagpole. I mean, it was meant as a flagpole.
There
So,
are no other polls in the area that you can,
No, actually, we looked, there are no other co-location opportunities. Sprint's actually located on each and every co-location opportunity in the area. And I think the proof in the pudding is also that each one of the federally licensed carriers, AT&T, Verizon, T-Mobile, and Metro PCS, is on this particular facility, as well as the surrounding facilities. I do have a
How
copy
strong
of
is your
that.
signal in that area? I mean, is it obvious that you need that?
Oh, it's very weak. Mr. Bertona submitted a report. We have the coverage maps, Route 6, Route 52, all without sufficient coverage, all of the surrounding areas. I just want to make sure I give you the right, because I have a couple different approvals. This is the zoning board approval.
I think I was on the board back then.
And it's simply just not a condition that requires any of that. Now, look, we still have to go back to the planning board. We understand that. As part of this process, there's a site plan by conditional permit from the planning board that, as far as the design, what the zoning board approved was the height and the setback. We're not increasing the height, we're not exacerbating the height, and we're not violating any of the conditions of approval. We do understand we have to go back to the planning board, though. Sprint's also using far fewer antennas than some of its competitors. I know Verizon has a number of slots in there, and some of the other carriers do. We're only using 3 antennas to minimize the footprint on the tower.
all right,
And there's nothing that can be done at all with the design to keep it as a flagpole?
No, again, we've been studying this since the springtime, and we submitted the report from Mr. Papay, and, you know, he looked at it from every single angle as far as trying to squeeze everything in there, and there's just simply not the space in there. Not even possible to extend the height of the pole either because of the way it was designed and with all the limitations as well.
I get that, but I think you're gonna run into, you know, it's a very patriotic community.
I understand.
And the fact that it's in tandem use as a flagpole weighs very heavily on the community, I feel. I don't know what the other board members feel, but, you know, we'll pull it around, but, you know, first you're gonna be looking for an interpretation here, so keep that in mind, guys. So we need to, Joe, I believe we need to decide on that first.
You know, I don't know what the board wants to do with this tonight. I know there was a submission made. Obviously, I'm here in Greg's stead. I haven't read the memo. I'd like to read it before I was to counsel the board with respect to this. I think Greg may want to speak with you with respect to this. I don't think he was aware. I met with him this morning. We went over all the applications for tonight. At no point did they ever say to the planning board that the flag was coming off the flagpole. That's the first I've heard of it tonight, so I think it's an issue that you may want to discuss further with council.
And we can hold this over.
Absolutely.
Yeah, if that were to be the case, I would ask you to hold the hearing open so I'd have an opportunity to respond to any comments.
That's fair.
I just want to ask, I mean, isn't there a way that you can put like an angled mass cable, devise a cable system, so you're still going to have the flagpole? And, I mean, just a recommendation There's gotta be a way.
Let me say
Otherwise,
this,
skinny
Mr. Chairman,
cat.
if that's the issue that's troubling the board, let me take that back to our engineers and study it properly. I don't want to give you an answer off, you know.
More justification for holding this over, just
I-
making a recommendation
I
while
understand
we're
what you're
here
saying. I hear you.
talking about it.
Is everything internal then? Is that where the chain, I guess, what brings it up? a
No,
chain?
the chain runs on the outside.
The
But it would
flag's on
get
the
hung
outside.
up, we're concerned it would get hung up on the
the
antennas.
And there's a chain that goes around the pole, so it would get hung up on the way down.
Gotcha.
That's why I was saying if there was a way.
let
I
us-
mean, we have a flag on the monument outside.
Yeah.
And it works, and it's 12 feet up.
Yeah,
Do make it work.
let us study the issue. One of the obvious impediments for us is that we're dealing with the tower owner. So it's not, you know, if it was just us being able to say, yeah, we're gonna be able to design something, I can't make that commitment to you without checking with the tower owner.
We're gonna recommend that you submit the decision in order from previous as part of your proposal.
Yeah, you just have that copy back, it's my only copy. Thank you.
No. So I think I'm gonna look for a motion to hold this over.
Motion to hold over.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
And when would that be, Mr. Chairman?
It would be the fourth Thursday of next month. I don't know the date offhand, but,
Okay, and there's no additional notices because you're holding it open in public?
no, if you're going for the same application, just submit any additional paperwork and/or if you come up with a new plan of a way to mount a flag there.
And I don't know if there was anyone here to speak. I don't know if there was anyone here to speak this evening.
I don't think it matters. We're gonna hold it over anyway, right?
And you can check and see if there's anyone here.
All right, I'll open it up to the public before we close this application. Sir, come on up.
Do we need to reopen?
Come up to
Because
the
we
podium.
voted on a close.
Yeah.
Motion to read.
Oh, yeah, I'll look for a motion to.
Don't close it yet, if he's gonna
We
speak.
already voted it.
I thought we did.
No, we made a motion to hold it over.
Oh,
We made a
okay,
motion.
okay.
So we can still hear it, though?
Yeah.
Even though-
All right, so this case is still open. Sir, state your name for the record,
Yes, my name is John O'Leary.
and raise your right hand, please. Swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, nothing but the truth, so help you God.
I do. I just wanted to testify as a resident of Mayapack and a Sprint customer that I would, approve of the application. I stand by it because I have 3 phones in my family, and the coverage definitely is
Drops,
spotty
right?
and bad coverage in that area.
Okay. No, we understand the reason for it, and I don't think anyone's against that, but, in my mind, and I think some of the other board members, the whole reason for this initially was that it was gonna be a flagpole, and you're taking that away, and it's just gonna be a pole.
That's why I just wanted to
So-
give you my opinion about the
Okay, we
site
appreciate
itself.
it. Thank you.
Well, thank you very much for your time this evening. We'll see you next month.
Okay.
Thank you.
Put a new load in.
Now I'll look for a motion to close the,
No.
well, I can't close the.
No, we're not closing. We
Joe, I
held it
can't
over.
close the public hearing.
No, don't do that.
Okay.
No, we held it over.
All right, so it's held over. All right, number 9 is PCSB.
Keep hitting my knee. Keep hitting my knee on this.
Do you?
That's why I sit here. Good evening, guys. State your names for the record, please.
Good evening. Dawn McKenzie.
Robert Ferrier, Putnam County Savings Bank.
All right, and raise your right hands, please. Swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, nothing but the truth, so help you God. All right, let us know what you're looking to do.
I'm from Inside Engineering. We're representing Putnam County Savings Bank. What the bank is looking to do is they're looking to put up a new bank building on a currently vacant lot across Route 6 from
I gotta
the
make them aware that this is a sort of subdivision, the lot does not exist.
Mayapack Village Center, where they currently have a bank. Their lease is up there, and they're looking to put up a new building across the street.
Well, it's a minimum.
And they need a variance for a minimum floor area.
So it's the square footage.
Yes,
They're actually smaller than what's required.
right.
Now, just for the record, everybody, this subdivision is in the process right now of creating the 2 lots, and this will be lot 1 of the,
This will be Lot 1 of the Baldwin subdivision. We were actually before the planning board last night and received a final subdivision plat approval.
Okay. Is this where that senior center is?
Just below it.
In front,
Okay.
it's right
Right,
across from
it's the
McDonald's.
property next
Yeah.
door to the Kohler Center, correct.
So it's directly across from that intersection. I believe there's going to be a new light going in.
Yes,
That's what it says.
that's actually part of this project. They're going to line the entrance to this site with the entrance to the existing entrance to the plaza. One of the issues at the site is that we're constrained to the west by a New York State DEC and town-regulated wetland. So you can see we have, blue is the wetland itself, and the red line is the 100-foot wetland buffer. So we have this small triangular space left to develop. And the other thing I wanted to point out is this is a prototype building that the bank is also constructing at other sites at different locations. And it's the amount of square footage that they require to put up anything bigger would not benefit them in any way. It
All
wouldn't
right,
serve their
It's a
purposes.
beautiful design too, by the way. I saw the architectural elevations and renderings.
Yeah, it's part of their branding, you know.
And I would say due to the amount of parking that you would need for that size, if you had a bigger building, you would need bigger parking
Correct,
as well. So you're
go in the
encumbered by
buffer.
that wetlands line.
yes.
So it
And
makes sense.
actually, I have another figure. Let me see where that one is. This one really gives a good idea of the amount of disturbance required to put in what we're doing already. To put in a bigger building would increase it that much more. There's no public sewer or public water in this location available to them, so they're putting in a on-site septic system. They have on-site stormwater, and they're drilling a well at the site, so. And we're already proposing disturbance in the wetland buffer.
And you guys are developing the other site as well?
That is being developed, it's a separate site plan.
Okay. Are you guys involved with that as well?
We are involved with that, yes.
All right, I'll look to the board for any questions.
No questions here.
No questions. Phil?
No questions, thank you.
Rose?
No questions.
Silvio?
Got nothing.
All right, any input from the public on this application? I'll look for for a motion to close the hearing.
So moved.
Seconded?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All right, thank you.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you.
Good luck. And last but not least, Mr. Albano.
You got two more.
You
You
Oh.
got two more.
Why am I out of order here? What's going on here? Sorry.
Mr.
Second to
Albano's
last but not least, Mr. Albano. Number 10 on the agenda.
He provided a decision.
State your name for the record, please.
Carl Albano,
Right hand. Swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, nothing but the truth, so help you God.
so help me God, yes.
Thank you, Lou. Let us know what you're looking to do here.
I'm sorry.
Let us know what you're looking to do here. This was back in front of us a few years back.
This property, I lived in this area for probably, I don't know, 40 years. This property that was in my family. And several years ago, this lot, which was a little bit of an unusual shape with the lot that it was attached to, was designed anticipating the sewers coming into the area. So subsequently, we applied for a variance to get a 1-acre building lot. At the time, when we were developing in the area, we installed a water line. We gave the town a sewer easement through the property, everything in anticipation of future building. The former supervisor, Frank Del Campo, had requested that I do any water connections, put in an application anticipating future development so they could pave the road. So that was done, and at a later date, we came in and applied for the variance. When we applied for the variance, the neighbors next door were opposed to a building lot. And at the time, several discussions came up about privacy issues and different things. One of the questions was, would I put trees? And be quite honestly, I was kind of taken back that the neighbor was offended that I was going to build, and I had said no. And then it was a suggestion of the planning board, well, how about a 15-foot conservation easement? To me, that didn't seem to be an issue.
So I agreed to that. When I began to build on the property, or when I prepared to build, it was very obvious that this was going to be a serious issue. I had anticipating putting a raised ranch on the property, and because the property is 100 feet wide, I was going to put the driveway in through the front of the property. The elevations of the property would not let that work to meet town code. So I came up with a new plan, and I built a 38-foot colonial, kind of scaled the house down, and decided to put the driveway into the side. Picture the house so you can have an idea. When I did this, I had the surveyor come out and shoot the grades, and the driveway profiles worked relatively well. During the course of the construction, we became a little bit friendly with the neighbors, and we discussed it several different times. The conservation easement that I agreed to, if you look at this property in the back, there's a sewer easement. That area was just lawn. There were no trees there. There was some brush, probably a foot high, but basically it was lawn, and my neighbor had been cutting it onto my property to that easement. So that area, there was really no vegetation to speak of. The front of the property did have some vegetation that was about a foot high, some poison ivy and vines. I did clear that because the water tap was right in that vegetation. But again, no substantial trees or things that would really be for privacy use were removed. In the middle, any trees of substantial size or anything that had any kind of cover to it, I tried to leave, with the exception of a couple of dead prickle bushes and things like that. When I put the driveway in, I realized I had about 21 feet before I hit this conservation easement, and the area directly on the side of the driveway was basically brush that was probably a foot high, a couple of prickle bushes. During the course of that, we leveled that area, and we figured it would be no problem to have a driveway there. I did speak to my neighbors about it, and at one point my neighbor said they wanted to put a fence up between the two properties, and they had told me that if I would kick in, they would put a nicer fence. Well, that never went anywhere. Later on, what happened is they did put up a wooden fence, 6-foot wooden fence, so that's all along this property line. The other discussion that came up is if I would plant trees. And I want to leave and have everything look nice, so I said I would do that. They had recommended a particular type of tree, a spruce or something, and I had recommended white pines. We had no agreement on this, but anyway, I went out and bought 2 12-foot white pines and tried to put them in the area that was grass. Again, to be a good neighbor and try to do things that work. The end result of this whole thing is I did meet with the neighbor once, and I said, you know, this is the area I'm paving. And verbally, she said, I have no problem with that. And I says, well, could you give me that in writing, because I don't want to have any problems if I pave the driveway. And at that point, it appeared obvious to me that there may be some problems. So to have this house work properly, a driveway needs about 30 feet to back out of a garage and turn. If I didn't go into the conservation easement, I'd have about 21 feet. Very difficult driveway. So my only other option is to go further back on the property to kind of give a turnaround area. And it really just doesn't make any sense. The area where I'd like to put the driveway, again, there was nothing that would really create any kind of blockage or be of any help to the neighbor. And there is a 6-foot fence there. Part of the reasons, if you look at the way the house is set, in the back of the property, I have 2 inches off my deck because there's a sewer easement going across the whole property. I couldn't go back any further. On the right side of the property, I'm about 25 feet and a few inches, and you need a 25-foot offset. So I made the driveway work. It was very creative, but it's very restrictive for me, and it really hinders the sale of the house of not having the proper width driveway. Any questions? I could show you.
Could you not create a hammerhead? Back in this area, so you have a turnaround so cars can back out and then pull forward?
This will give you an idea where that.
Yeah, I was out there Saturday, I saw it. So you're that distance, well, you're probably about 8-10 feet into the easement.
Yes.
Right now.
I could create I'll talk to the speaker.
Yeah, please.
I could create an area where you can back in. Again, it would be very difficult to negotiate that turn. And basically, I'm going back into the backyard even further, which I think would be more of a hindrance to my neighbor, having the driveway going back into our yards. Where it sits right now is on the side of the house, which is parallel to the neighbor's side of the house. Right now, my neighbor has basically a trampoline on the side of the house there, which at one point she said to me, I know it's not pretty, that's why I put it there. And I have no problem with it. I want to make things work. Like I said, I went out and bought very large white pines, not because it was necessary, because I thought that would make things work.
And where are they in this picture? I mean, you're locating them on the site plan, but,
Okay. These are the two pines, and this is the area that was lawn.
okay, but that's past here, right? That's them in the background?
Yes, these are 12-foot pines. Now, I could rip one of the pines out and go further back with the driveway. One other issue, because the neighbor was concerned about privacy on the side, both sides of this house I put no windows. I don't think it's truly aesthetically pleasing, but fortunately you don't really see it. So I purposely put no windows on the side of the house, just trying to keep that in mind.
All right, Carl, so couldn't you put some more plantings on the edge within that easement?
Say that again?
The back end of this hammerhead?
Yeah.
Could you not put a couple more planting for screening for them? So to make
Well,
this,
that's a
make this
12-foot
work?
pine, and it's about 5 feet off the property. Okay, I'm sorry, 4 feet off the...
I don't think you would need as big a tree that you've planted already, even if you put like a 6-footer with the intention that it'll grow eventually.
I could, but picture it would be right, in other words, in order to be, picture these trees are about 6 or 7 feet wide, and it's about, I would say about 3 feet off the edge of where the driveway shows there. If I stuck another tree in there, it would basically be on the driveway.
What about arborvitae, where you could get something taller that's
Yeah,
not so
skinnier.
spread?
I mean, I don't know the exact species, but maybe Joel can help you out with his knowledge of
Yeah,
screening.
I also left the trees that were there and the brush that was there. If you look at it, it's kind of
See that, but,
straggly.
I mean, it looks like you got at least 3 to 4 feet of a planting area that is kind of
There is about a
compromised.
3-foot area behind there. But again, any tree that's there would encroach on the driveway pretty instantly. If that pine grows,
Yeah, like Mike said, something that's skinnier but grows taller, and it gives them some screening. I think it's a good compromise, maybe 5 or 6 of them along that edge.
Stagger
And,
'em.
I mean, yeah, staggered to a certain degree.
but when you say along the edge,
In this planting area, right.
that's about
right at the-
3 feet.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
that's doable. I've done.
There are green trees right on the other side of that
I'm
fence
assuming
now.
the fence was put on the property line?
It was probably a foot into the property line. They put it facing
So, I
towards
mean,
them.
you could take a foot more off the driveway and still make it work, I would imagine. I mean, it looks like you got a decent turnaround space. So there's got to be some give and take here.
I could put some more trees there.
I mean, I'm assuming they're here to talk, so
Yes.
we'll,
Yeah, sure.
yeah, let's poll the board first, and then I'll open up to the public, so.
Rather than eliminating the conservation easement altogether, what if it was, the width of it was shrunk to some extent, maybe 5 feet? So there's still a 10-foot buffer. Would that work?
You could, but there's nothing there. That's the thing, the area in the back is a sewer easement, and there was only lawn there. The area in the front of the road, there was nothing there, and the water taps are there. So basically, for all purposes, there's about a 10 or 12-foot section that has a couple of big trees which I left. Oh, thank you. I'm trying to see what else you could see that will give you a better vision of what's there. Yeah, if you look, the area that had the most vegetation I left. Unfortunately, it works right off the edge of the
But
driveway.
what I'm saying, right in here, Carl.
This is
you
about
could
2 or 3 feet.
You can find something skinny enough that's gonna grow tall and wide. And
There's all brush on this side of this, and if you look, those trees are all pretty much eaten and stuff. The trees that are here hang over to their property, but I don't want to touch them because they're substantial trees, but they are hanging onto their property. I could put some stuff here, but again, this is a 6-foot fence. Their side of their house is the same as the side of my house. We're both parallel like this. You'd almost be blocking almost nothing.
Yeah,
3-acre one, yes.
I don't know, just putting it out there for suggestion. All right, more.
Where it would be blocking would not be, in other words, the real privacy issue is when you get into the backyard where the 2 decks are. And when I say a privacy issue, let me
Yeah,
talk
if you're out
about
there
my-
having a barbecue or
Yeah,
whatever.
when I say it's a privacy issue, this house on the corner is a corner house. When you drive around the corner, it's all open.
Yeah, they came through us last year with
Okay,
something.
I'm the next house parallel with this, so basically our two decks in the back are similar. To address that, because that's really where you want your privacy, I bought 12-foot pines, not 6 foot, because the fence is 6 foot, and it would
Yeah.
be 5 years.
I see it from the
I tried to buy the biggest trees I could find that we could handle. The walls were like, and that's really where the privacy issue is. Where the driveway is, it's one side of a house looking at the other side of a house, and right over the fence is a trampoline. The sewer easement that I gave the town and just the configuration, it was very tight, and I did shorten the house down to make it 38 feet.
Okay, I mean, we had to make it work on the lot as it was,
Yeah,
too, so-
it was very difficult.
All right, Mark, any questions?
Just wondering where the, once paved, where it looks like it goes down, right from the street?
Yes.
The water flow, will it go towards
I
the
would
neighbor's
assume you're gonna-
property, or
you're
are you
gonna
gonna
put a
grade it
catch
towards the
basin.
back of your property?
It'll be pitched towards my property, yeah.
You're gonna put a catch basin in the back corner and then have it go out to daylight underground, right? Typically?
No, there wouldn't be a catch basin. In other words, we'd normally infiltrate into the lawn that's behind there, because there's all lawn for the next, like, 30, 40
And
feet.
it goes downhill.
Yeah. I mean, I've been doing this for years. There'll be no water issues, I can
Almost like it's
guarantee that.
a curb somewhat between, the part of the driveway that's between you and your neighbor, so that the water is shifted to the back and not off to the
Oh, I
side.
see what you're saying. Yeah, that could easily be done, but there won't be no water issues, because what we'll do is pitch the driveway in such a manner that very little runoff goes to there, and I would guarantee that. I mean, I've been doing this for years. There would never be a water issue. It's all pitched to my backyard, and then there would be a slight turn-off on that end. You can come out and look, I mean, I don't know if you've got a chance to come out and look at it. I mean, it works. The bottom line is, if I had moved it in a few feet, there really would be no benefit as far as privacy or anything. There'd be no effect, except that you have a driveway that doesn't work. It's just not conducive to what's there.
Mike, anything? No. Another question I have, could you make it so it's not paved? Can you put like a gravel border within that easement, pave the rest of the driveway, and? Yeah, I mean, that's the line that you're representing as the
Yeah,
easement
yeah.
itself. Could you not keep
I
that
can.
gravel at that point and leave this as asphalt?
I
So you're
can,
not re-
but the key here is there really any benefit? In other words, as far as plowing and material moving, would there be a benefit to the neighbor? The only benefit I could see as far as making the neighbor happy was to put the largest trees I could in the backyard. And that's what I have now. If those trees grow 2 or 3 years, these are like, going to be 14-foot trees by probably 8 feet wide. They're white pines.
Yeah.
And the key with them is you prune them a little bit, they stay bushy, and, in 20 years, they'll probably be too big. But right where the driveway is, it's basically side-to-side houses with a 6-foot fence already there. Anything I plant, I might be, maybe if eventually it grows up into the air, it'd be, if you jump on the trampoline, you might not be able to see over, but other than that, there's no true benefit.
Phil, anything?
No questions, thank you.
Russ?
No questions, I wanted to hear the neighbor.
Silvio?
No question.
All right, at this point, I'll open it up to the public for any opinions. We guys state your names for the record, please?
I'm Diane Genesti.
I'm Joe Genesti.
Can you raise your right hands, please? Swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God.
I do.
Okay, just speak into the microphone, please.
I'll try to make it as brief as possible. We had purchased our house at 28 Mechanic Street that's adjacent to the property Mr. Urbano owns back in 2009 in February. At that particular point that we purchased it, the current zoning law on the books was it would prohibit any house from being erected on the property adjacent to us. Now, I'm not sure whether or not you have this. This is really pertinent to my whole discussion. This was ruling back in 2012.
Thank you.
I don't know if we referred to this quite a lot, so. Mr. Chair?
Okay. Direct your attention to, well, basically, the line on the bottom is public opposition at that point. The only public opposition at that point was me and my wife, as far as allowing this particular house to be erected. And as you look at the bottom of the page, you'll see that it is quite a substantial variance that was granted to Mr. Albano going back to 2012. Look at the dimensions. I don't have it stated in this particular paper, but if you went back to the minutes of 2012, you would see that we had proposed the planting of trees along the property line, kind of serve as a natural buffer zone between the house that he was planning on erecting. It was an idea that Mr. Albano at the time vehemently opposed, which he did state. Now, if you just turn the page and look under conclusions. Now, conclusion number 1, and I realize that these conclusions they're dictated by the state, and that certain towns, every town has to abide by these state regulations. And the first one being, an undesirable change will not be produced in the character of the neighborhood, and a sufficient detriment will not result to nearby properties if the variance is granted. Now, in order to mitigate this, Mrs. Fabiano came up with the idea, and I'll read it one time, and one time only, because someone referred to it again. Mrs. Fabiano moved to grant with the condition that there be no disturbance of the natural vegetation within 15 feet of the property line from the street to the first bend of the property, which is 151.78 feet. Mr. Argoletti, second the motion. The third article, the variance is granted. The variance, if granted, will not have an adverse effect or impact on the physical and environmental conditions in the neighborhood. Again, it's mitigated by the decision. And the decision was, if you do one thing, then we'll grant the variance. Okay, that was how I figured it would work. But things do change. And as I previously stated, that it was a substantial variance that was granted the first time around. And it's stated in Article 4, the variance request is substantial. Now, finally, what are my wife's and my conclusion on this? Although we weren't originally happy with the decision to allow the house to be erected on the adjacent property, we respected at that time the board's decision based on the buffer zone. Mr. Albano showed no respect for the board's decision by laying down gravel and clearing the vegetation. As an experienced builder in this area, Mr. Albano should have realized that the 15-foot buffer zone was a requirement for this variance approval, and that a smaller house should have been placed on this site. I guess his conclusion was he'd seek a variance, and tonight you would again grant it.
Okay, and that's why he's here in front of us to look for, what he's looking for is remove the condition of conservation easement from the lot.
And I do have one final thing, I did bring this. Okay, I'm sorry.
And I would charge this board to read the criteria in what he's presented to us again, and we judge it based on that. If I have that right. So,
Joe, is there a particular test for modifying a condition of approval?
No, you're reviewing it the same as you did initially.
you're weighing it with the same criteria.
Same criteria.
So, I'm sorry, you would like to speak as well, ma'am?
Well, he has some pictures.
I just
but
wanted to
Also,
Okay.
when he started doing this.
Can you speak into the microphone,
First of
please?
all, 2 years prior to this. Do you want to show him this? That's fine.
I'll show it to you.
He started taking, I don't need a mic, I'm loud enough. He started taking trees down way before he came here. I saw him taking trees down, okay? Then he came, and then I realized what was going on, okay? Now, once he gets this whole thing approved, and he gets the house, and he claims, oh, I was paying all these taxes, his mistake that he did not put the property, it wasn't my mistake. When I bought that house, I had all intentions of having all that privacy. Now, all of a sudden, he comes in well, I've been paying all these taxes. You have to grant me the house. Okay, you did that for him. He made that mistake, and now he's rectified it by putting a house up. Now you tell me you give me 15 feet. That's all I have. I only have that backyard, that corner spot of privacy, okay? And now he takes that away from me. I tried to be a good neighbor. I came, I brought food
Please address
to
the
him.
board.
No, and I asked him when he started taking the brush down, I said, you weren't supposed to. What he says to me is, oh, don't worry, because he said something about the water line. I have to do it. I have to take the brush down, and don't worry, I'm going to put the trees up that you asked me for. And I said, but you told the town you wouldn't do that. He goes, you know what, but I'm thinking about it. I'll put the trees up. Now he says to me, okay, I'm going to put these trees. What kind of trees would you like? I say to him, I'm going to find out from my friend who has a nursery. He suggested Norway spruce. I tell him that. He does not put Norway spruce up. He puts the trees that my friend tells me are going to grow so out of control, they get eaten by the deer. And then he showed me one in Heritage Hills. He says, see that? That's what the tree's going to look like. Because he should have put a Norway spruce up. It doesn't grow as fast, doesn't go as lanky. That's only going to help me for like a few years. And what does he tell me? Don't worry about it, he says. In 20 years, he goes, we're not even going to be here. I told him, maybe you're not going to be here, but I planned on living here. I've been living in this town for over 40 years, 42 years. And I expected to stay there. And I knew when I bought that property, I even asked the owner. And he says, oh no, he can't build over there. I did all my homework. And now he comes in and he wants to take the lousy 15 feet I have. And all I asked him was to put the truck, and I told him I was going to come to town. He said, oh, no, you don't have to. I'm going to do right by you. I'm going to put the trees up that you asked. Now, what does he do? He puts 2 trees up. He doesn't even put the trees up I asked him to put up, and he forgets about all the stuff he took down already.
Okay, I understand you're passionate about it, and it's a sensitive issue. We're trying to work with you, for you, and for him as well, to come up with a compromise here.
Oh, I
He's
had
already
a compromise
taken
for him,
into
but he
the
didn't want the
easement.
compromise. I had a compromise for him.
Okay.
I told him, you know what? I only have my backyard. I said, I go on my deck. You made your deck further far. I only have, my deck is this wide. That's it. He made his deck further out. I go on my deck. I got his guy that he's working. I'm in my pajamas. I'm not used to seeing that. I'm not used to having to have somebody over there.
All right, well, he put the
Okay,
deck
so
on the
I
other
asked
side of
him
the
to put
house,
a
too.
privacy fence. I said, please, put a privacy fence on your deck, so that at least I have that. He
Okay,
don't
well,
want to do that.
we can't control that. That's not a condition as to
right,
how
well-
the house was built. If that's an issue that you have with him, that's between you guys. We
Well,
cannot,
the 15...
that's not in our purview
The
here.
15 feet would still give me the privacy I would need.
Well, I think you have a fence up there now, 6-foot fence, which you're allowed to have on the property line, which I think really covers that well, judging from the pictures, and I was out there on Saturday looking at it as well. So I think if we were to have him add some more screening in that
And
fence
what about
line,
the
like we
front?
talked about prior
What about the
to.
front that he took down? The 15 feet was supposed to be 15 feet crossed over. That's what we're supposed to
No,
do.
I think with doing that, he's adding back to the conservation factor by putting trees back in there. I don't know what was there prior to, I don't remember from however many years ago, 3, 4 years ago, what kind of trees. It doesn't look like there were any healthy trees, and I could see that there still is some brush and small scratch. So, what I'm thinking is if we gave you even more, maybe 10 trees along that fence line, that's gonna cover what you need to bring vegetation back and conservation back to that property. I mean, look, I'm a
What about the
builder too.
front?
I've been building for 20, 25 years. Things happen. Sometimes your elevations don't work out with driveways. I understand that. So sometimes when you're planning, you don't know what's gonna happen. And I could see where that's where the problem is. So I'm thinking a decent compromise is to put screening there. It's bringing back conservation into that easement, and it's gonna be forever green from that point.
Okay,
This
but
is-
what about the front part? Go ahead, show
What
me.
about the front part? Sure.
When you're talking about the front, do you mean
Out by the road.
above the driveway?
The property line between,
Because
It was supposed to be 15 feet. He took it all down. He took all the brush down.
But if you're backing out of the driveway, I don't think he can cut that driveway
No,
in a,
I'm not asking him to cut the driveway. I'm asking him to put the brush back that he took down.
but he can't put 15 feet on that 3-foot section. He's not gonna be able to put 15 feet in.
And I asked
It's the
him
same
if
trees,
he wanted,
isn't it?
if he wanted that little
Photo
piece,
angle?
please give me some privacy on your deck. Put a privacy sign, and I would sign a paper. Give you
That's
that,
looking from
that,
their
just
house,
that
which is
spot
there,
though. I don't want to give him the rest of it.
All right,
That's
so-
my only privacy.
So
That I
what are
want-
you looking for?
I'm looking for my buffer. You
Where?
said
Where?
from 15 feet.
Yeah,
You said
it's
from my
smaller
borderline
vegetation. It's
to
not like
his,
healthy,
15 feet,
large
there's a
trees.
maple tree. And I told him, I said, that maple tree from here over should be all brush. He took all that brush down. He shouldn't have took the brush down, that was supposed to be left.
That's past the driveway,
The driveway is here,
right?
and now you have
If
my
you keep
buffer
going
zone.
back?
No, keep on going, the whole thing. That's
Mike, when the
supposed to be
plan,
15
when the
feet
planning
of
board
brush.
considers
From here
conservation.
over, now he has his driveway. That's
Okay,
all I'm
ma'am,
asking.
if I may, please. The planning board usually considers vegetation healthy trees, correct? Anything that's over a certain size?
Well, it says C Note 9, in accordance with the ZBA's condition of approval, there shall be no disturbance of the natural vegetation within 15 feet of the property line from the street to the first bend of the property, 151.78 feet. So, I mean, a tree is only a tree when it's 6 inches measured at 4.5 feet off the
Saying, from the
ground.
pictures I'm looking at before and after, I don't see anything bigger
Because
than.
brush is not, saplings are not.
Right.
Trees are trees, you know, that's in the definition of, you know, with the tree ordinance.
All right, we can go around and around all night, but I think I made a suggestion. I'm going to finish with the rest of the board members, because I think we only got this way, or did we get all the way through to you guys? Did anybody have any more comments or questions?
No.
Okay. All right, anything further?
I don't, oh, you're gonna just think about it.
Yeah,
See, what
any
I'm
more
saying
input?
to you- What I was trying to explain to her was, where is his driveway? Do you have a picture of his driveway? Here?
Do you have the pictures?
You have the survey, Jeff?
This
See all this brush? You see all this brush?
I still see brush here and.
Do you see all
He
this
didn't
brush?
touch
No,
that.
that's in the back. I'm talking about the whole strip.
Uphill side.
So
This is the front, this is the roadside, Mechanic Street. That's the whole front between your property and his.
That's my
Your
fence. That's in the
your fence,
back.
And that's the vegetation in between.
No, that's not showing it. Over here is showing it. All I'm saying to you is you've come out there.
I was out there.
All right, there's a maple tree, right there. From that point over to the left to my property, he has taken all that down a year ago.
I'm confused.
Needs a
Here's
survey.
Mechanic Street. Here's the driveway. Here's that, he has
Right, it's that
sections
20
where-
20
here,
feet of
right
driveway
there, all
that's
this-
encumbered.
So you're
He took that-
suggesting in the front here,
I
this
want
is
the
where,
whole, the whole strip.
but the problem where the driveway is,
And I said to him, I'll give you that, you need that, but then give me a fence, compromise with me on the deck, I said to him. And he said, oh, no, 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 no.
what about here? The brush here, the
I
trees
want-
here, high trees
I
here.
said to him, yeah, these 2 high trees he put there, those are the ones I told him not to put, and he did it anyway. He asked me, what trees you want? I told him, I'm gonna get back to you. I got back to him, I said, Norway spruces, I said. That's what my friend told me. Last week, I see him put in these 2 trees, and I knew they weren't the right ones, right off the bat. So here's the line, from here over is supposed to keep all that brush. Over here, he takes it off. He claims over here, he put the trees in.
All right,
I'm
he put those
saying
2
from-
trees there to protect your backyard view from deck to deck. And I
But it
can
didn't.
appreciate that,
It did-
but
it-
they'll get there eventually.
No,
They'll
but you
grow.
don't get it. I didn't want those because they're gonna grow so fast, and like he said to me, you aren't gonna be here. I am gonna be there in
Okay,
20 years.
We're hearing the same thing over and over.
Okay,
I'm
all
getting
right,
to a
so
point
what
where
I'm-
I'm gonna
all
shut it
I'm
down.
saying to you is-
I'm getting to a point where I'm gonna shut it down because we've
Okay.
heard enough at this point,
All I'm saying
okay?
is from here over, I want shrubs. That's all. That's all I ever wanted.
Okay, I'm gonna close the public hearing on this application unless anyone else has anything further.
Can I still speak before it's closed?
Yes, I'll give that courtesy.
This is
Carl, just, yeah, you speak to the microphone.
This is a view from Mechanic Street, and it is correct, I did disturb the area in Mechanic Street. The reason being is that the water taps which existed are there. By the way, my neighbor's water tap is on my property. I have no problem with that. But depending on where this goes, I may have to ask to have that removed. It is on my property.
The main is here.
I did have to clear that area to hook into the water. The brush that I disturbed was basically weeds and poison ivy. You can go out and verify this because right where I stopped, you could see the rest of the vegetation. It was about 1 foot high, and it's brush. It's no privacy issue. This is more of a little bit of a different kind of an issue that we're dealing with here. When you come to the back of this easement, again, there was no vegetation there. There was lawn. My neighbor actually cut the lawn into the sewer easement, okay? And it was mowed. When we spoke the other day, I said, well, what would you like me to do, not mow the lawn? He says, yes, don't mow the lawn. Again, there's no privacy here. It's not like, I want to make my neighbor happy. When I bought these trees, they are 12-foot white pines. I have them at my house across the street, and if you prune them, they grow beautiful. And I did say in 20 years it would be an issue. If you never touch them, you'll have trees that are too big. But all I was pointing out is realistically, you want to see the greatest growth in privacy. You know, these trees cost me a lot of money. These are not little shrubs. I mean, they're 12-foot trees. And the reason I got them is I wanted them to be above the 6-foot fence. The area that really could be a privacy issue, and again, I don't think it is, I tried to do the best I could. When you come up to the street, I mean, I don't know, I could put weeds back on the lawn there, but it's grass, and the 2 water taps are there, including my neighbor's, which is on my property. I have no problem with that. It's my neighbor. When you come to the driveway, yes, I did disturb the weeds. No substantial trees or brush were down. Anything that gave privacy, I was in fact, there's trees there now that I think are very ugly. They're leaning over my neighbor's property. I left them. You look at them, they're drooping, they're a little half dead. I didn't touch them because my neighbor wants them. I personally think they're ugly. If there was really a true reason to do something different here, I would agree to it. I want to do the right thing. I live in a neighborhood. I've built other houses. I'm not a big builder. The only reason I've built this is because I've lived here all these years, and that's how I bought it. And with regard to the major variance that I got here, again, this was designed based on the kind of neighborhood we're in. We're in a sewer and water district. Most of the houses across the street are half-acre zone. There's areas in town that are quarter-acre zone because it is a sewer and water district. If you look at this total property, the density is much, much, much greater than 1 acre. This was a big piece of property over the years, and slowly we subdivided. I've paid like 30 years of taxes on this. I mean, the building lot today is $6,000. I pay like 20-something grand taxes. I'm not trying to recreate the wheel and make $1 million. This was just a survival thing. Build another thing here, sell it, and make a little money. If I thought it was ugly or it infringed on my neighbors, I would not do it. Once they put up the fence, it was almost like a non-issue anymore. But again, I put the 12-foot pines to do the right thing. If I change anything here, there will be virtually no benefit to the neighbor. The whole area is fenced off from the beginning to the end. Whatever I do on this side, unless I can make it more than 6 or 10 feet in the air, they won't see. And the one area by the driveway, there are a bunch of trees that stand tall.
Carl, in my mind, you built in, granted, and you have to make it work with the driveway, you built into the easement to make the driveway work. So the whole idea is to keep it green, it's conservation. So in my mind, I think the best thing to do is to put plantings back in there, put trees. It gives them screening, gives them peace of mind, it gets green back to the environment and to the property of what it was intended to maintain.
I don't know what a white pine is, to be honest with you. It seems to me like it wouldn't be an evergreen, am I right?
No, it is an evergreen.
Is it
And
an
actually,
evergreen? Yeah.
I could show you white pines that I planted. The deers normally don't eat them.
pictures.
Again, people have different opinions. You could look at them.
Those 2 trees are white pines. They're
One
full of-
thing that your neighbor suggested was putting some kind of
Privacy fence.
on
We
the
did
deck.
discuss that. She asked me for a privacy fence. In my heart, I really don't think that's attractive. It's a new house, I'm trying to sell it. I offered to my neighbor, I said, check and see what a privacy fence costs. I'll pay if you want to put one on your deck. Again, I'm not, I want to try to compromise a little bit, but at the same time, this is almost a control factor. And again, anything I do here, you will not see on the other side of the fence. If you go out there and look at the property, I'm willing to wait, you could see. When I look over the fence, I'm looking at a trampoline, you saw the pictures. And again, in my neighbor's words, I know it's very ugly, that's why I put it there. And I don't care, it's my neighbor, that's fine, but there's a 6-foot fence there. I could try to plant trees. It'll restrict the driveway a little bit, and maybe when they grow 10 feet tall. But again, the real areas are the decks in the back where the privacy issue is, not on the sides of the houses. I have no windows on the side of my house. There's nothing to look out or see.
I think we're going round and round.
Okay.
I expressed my opinion.
But wait a minute. He put something out there about putting a privacy screening on their deck. Have you looked into that?
Yeah, the only problem is I have all my gardening on there. And by putting that, I'm not gonna get the sun. And I have all those planters that are on the edge. And my deck is only this wide. His deck is out far.
Okay.
It's further than my deck. And my deck was there first.
I won't hold you up anymore, I'll end it, but those are some of the factors that I deal with. The first thing my neighbor said is, why'd you put a big deck? The next thing is, why'd you put stairs facing?
All right, we're not going to make it personal. We're going to...
Like I said, if I have to do anything really out of the ordinary here, then I'm probably going to address the issue with the water, which I really rather not do, but if you look at this, I would be glad if something made a difference, I would consider. I don't think it
You want these back? You want them for the record?
You could have them for the record.
Okay.
Like I said, if you look at this side of the house, there's no windows, so really, the area that we're talking about, changing anything, there'll be no benefit. The yard, I tried to address.
All right, does anybody else have anything else? Anybody have anything else from the board? All right, I'm going to look for a motion to close the public hearing.
Motion to close.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All right, thank
All
you
in
for your
favor?
time.
Aye.
Thank you. Now, last but not least,
I think I recused myself from this
Right.
case.
is Secor 78 LLC.
So-
Joel representing?
Let me ask Joel. Okay, I'm recusing from this one.
Okay. Okay. Joel, you want to proceed knowing that we have 5 voting?
Yes.
Okay. You're sworn in from before. Let us know what you're looking to do here.
Recall several months ago, we were here to get some variances to legalize the third floor for offices, which this board granted, and there's also a parking space variance, which was granted also. Shown on the map at the time, and it obviously was overlooked, and I apologize for that. The New York State Building Code requires that there be a second means of egress from the third floor. The stair was shown on the drawing, which you approved, was shown on the planning board, which approved it. However, there are three variances that are required. Because this is a corner lot, there are 2 front yards and 2 rear yards. So right now, as you see in the green here, there's a staircase and there's a shed, which are closer to the property lines than this stair. But obviously, the stair does not meet the setbacks, and that's why we're here for 3 variances, basically, the front yard and the 2 rear yards. And it's basically to meet the code, building code.
All right, the back of that property faces another
Vacant lot.
empty lot,
The
right?
vacant
Right.
lot where the gas station used to be.
It's-
Yeah,
it's
is
the old
there
gas
any
station.
potential for something being built there, or that's been
If somebody comes in and pays the
cleanup
Superfund
fees?
back,
Okay, that's why, it is a Superfund project.
it is a
basically.
Superfund project. That
it's-
was
Okay.
a
Not
large.
gonna be there, not
Basically,
in our
you're-
lifetime.
I would like to say forever green, but forever gravel, fortunately. So just bear that in mind if you guys don't know the property. You know, I understand, yeah, you need the second means of egress. The only way to do that is with a stairwell. And you don't want to bring it through the front of the building.
No.
What about on that back side? You're probably going to need the same amount of variances anyway, on that short
The
side.
variances actually would be greater because the stair is almost conforming over here. If we put it back over here, you'd be right along, actually, there's a house right over here. So I think we're better off leaving that free and putting it over here. Plus the fact, the existing is a central hallway in the building, which is perfect, so they could exit and go out the stair from the 3rd floor.
Yeah, if I remember the floor plan that was proposed, yeah, everything was based in the center. You put an elevator in, right?
Correct.
Joel, just a quick question. Could you not make a stacked stairwell to minimize, because you're going down along the side of the building?
Exactly, number one, and number two, if we did that, this shed actually goes underneath the staircase and contains the tanks for the sprinkler system. And if we did what you said, we would then encroach upon that, and then we'd have to move that. It would be a lot more cumbersome to do that.
Okay. There's no other property that you could buy.
Not the Superfund, no, thank you.
And, all right, look to the board for any questions?
No questions.
Mark, over here?
No questions, thank you.
No questions.
All right, any input from the public on this application? I'll look for a motion to close the hearing.
Motion to close.
Seconded?
Second.
All in favor? Aye. Okay,
Thank you.
Thank you.
Sometimes they don't.
All right, folks, that concludes the hearing portion of our meeting. Do you guys want to take a break, or do you want to?
We take a 2-minute break?
Sure. Okay, welcome back. At this point, there's no input from the public as we adjudicate the cases.
Thank you.
The first case, number 1, was Deal. Look for a motion.
Motion to grant.
Do I have a second?
Second. Second.
Any discussion? Yep. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion carried. Number 2, Carl Thimmer's held over. Number 3, Sue Dahl, I'll look for a motion.
Motion to grant.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
All right, motion carried. Number 4 is Brian and Jennifer Riley. I'll look for.
Motion to grant with the condition that they will retain screening.
Okay, do I have a second?
Second.
What was that condition? I'm sorry.
They'll retain the screening. They have screening up. That's the one by Lakeview, so that's.
They'll maintain the tree line that's adjacent to it?
Yes.
Is that what you said? Okay, I just want to make sure because I have
Screening,
the.
yeah, the tree line.
I don't think that's their property anyway. It's the school property. That's on the other side of the fence.
No, on their side of the fence. We want to make sure they have trees and some kind of screening.
Well, you want to add screening?
No, they already have it, if they just retain it.
You think that's on the school property, John?
I'm trying to remember. When I saw
There's a big
the
drop.
trees on the other side of the fence, but I don't think there were trees on that side.
I thought there were. Well, they should have some kind of
So I'm
screening
sure
there.
they'll maintain that. Okay.
No change, you think, just so,
Hmm?
in case it's not theirs, you could say there's just no change to the.
No change to the screening.
No
Right,
change
that's
to
fine.
whatever the existing screening is currently.
That's more like it.
Okay.
Okay, do I have a second to that motion?
Yeah, I'll do it. Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, carried. Number 5, Nupple. Look for a motion.
Motion to grant.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Number 6 was adjourned to next month.
Yep.
Number 7, Chris Sobieski, I'll look for a motion.
Motion to grant?
Do I have a second?
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carried. Number 8, Carmel Fire Department, Sprint Corporation. We held that over already.
Right.
All right, number 9 is PCSB Mapac Branch. I'll look for a motion.
Motion to grant.
Do I have a second?
Second.
And there's any discussion on this application? Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All right, motion carries. All right, number 10, Carl Albano. Do I have a motion? Bueller? Feel free to make a motion for discussion purposes, anyone.
All right, a motion to deny for discussion purposes.
Second.
Okay, discussion?
Looking at our decision, where we said, and it was Rose who put it in and was our decision, move to grant with the condition that there'll be no disturbance of the natural vegetation within 15 feet of the property line. That does not seem to have been adhered to. It seems like it's the applicant is here now basically for a second chance when he didn't really listen to us in the first chance. And what he proposed to me does not fit the criteria that we are to entertain for this decision, for this application. So I feel that I'm not closing the door.
I think he should come back with something else that he has for us to consider, but as of right now, I don't believe the criteria that we're to look at and that we are to weigh, that I don't believe he's pushed me to the point where I could grant his application.
With respect to that, I think before he paved it, that's why he's coming to us. I mean, what he's done by putting item 4 down is not a complete product.
I understand.
So in response to that, I just, in my opinion, I think he's coming to us before he does the final product.
It's a tight driveway, I get it. It is a tight driveway, but there has to be some kind of screening that,
Well, so that's why I suggested enforcing and making him put some vegetation back there. Again, that's the whole reason why that easement was kept as such, to stay green as much as possible. I understand things happen when you're building and things come up, but
There is, the vegetation removed is not my cup of tea, so I know where you're coming from, but there's a reason why the board back in the day did what they did. The 2 pines that you put up, I think, are a good start, but there are trees out there that will definitely shield the 2 of you on your decks. I know my neighbor, when I moved in, he put up a wall of the Norwegian spruce. They're tremendous. They grow together, and there's just a tremendous wall, and we can't see each other's decks. And we get along fantastic. It costs a lot of money, those trees, I know. But I think if you come back, like they said, with something else, you might be more successful.
given the fact that he totally disregarded our initial conditions, I think he needs to consider these Norwegian spruces and put in the extra money for this, because he just went ahead and cleared everything, and I understand, you know, going out on your deck, and you want a little privacy, you know, I get it. So I think that you should really consider these Norwegian spruce
Yeah, and I
or
think
whatever
the
they
fact that
are.
if you're adding more healthier, mature trees, that's getting you better vegetation and greenery, if you will, that was there prior to. And from judging from the pictures that we saw, it was low-lying vegetation and not very healthy big trees anyway.
Right.
So I think you're getting something back that was intended to keep that space green.
The other question I have is, I mean, this application is for the complete removal of the easement. Couldn't you have asked for just a little chunk where the driveway was and kept everything else?
Yeah. Yeah, we can condition it to that, right, Joe?
Yes, absolutely.
I don't
But
think
would that
any-
be part of this application, or would that be a different application, because that's not what...
You can diminish the size of the easement. You can augment the vegetation that's there, whether it's the planting of trees. There are a myriad of options open to you.
I would prefer, in light of the neighbors that were here, and Mr. Albano was here, and everything that's going on, that there be another application to us.
Negotiated.
That they negotiate or discuss, or at least bring to us instead of us doing their work.
Okay. So you're not necessarily asking for another application. You're asking the applicant to come back with a more concise proposal as to what plantings can be made in the easement to satisfy you, and then possibly the board would restrict or diminish the size of the easement. Is that what you're looking? Because I think the applicant needs some guidance with respect to this.
I would agree.
All right, well, you know, bear in mind, what's written is, the application is to remove a previous condition of conservation easement, and that's a good point. You don't
Right,
want to
and
remove
that's the way I
whole
read it.
easement. So that's a good point, Silvio. So, I mean, we theoretically could deny this application as proposed to us, and he can come back with a new proposal with...
You could, or the applicant could change the language in the application to remove or diminish.
Amend the application, essentially.
delineate
it on the
survey so
Right,
that you can
and
see
show a
exactly
proposal
where.
of
But Joe, are we past the point of no return because we closed the public hearing, or we could...
could we hold it over?
Or could we
At this
now
point
hold it
still,
over?
as we-
A lot's going to depend on the applicant, because if the applicant doesn't wish to amend the application, then this issue is moot. Okay, then you're left to determine whether or not you wish to remove it, and which is what the application is for. So you can deny it, and he can then come back with an additional application seeking to diminish or reduce the size of the easement, which would be a de novo application. At this point, you can take no action and ask the applicant whether or not he wishes to make an amendment to this existing application.
Are we allowed to do that with the
I think you can do that,
closed
sure.
public hearing?
Yeah.
All right, is that something, Carl, you would entertain? So just legally, how do we word that as,
Well, I think we'd have to,
So my understanding then is the applicant is going to ask the board to amend the application to use the language, remove and/or diminish the existing conservation easement. Is that fair? Okay. So,
With particulars. It just can't be, I want to remove part of it.
well, that's what you're going to decide.
Well, he's gonna take the survey and delineate where the driveway is, obviously.
And that's why maybe he should
When
come
he
back.
sits down to the plant here.
Amend your application and come back and show us something else.
you should show a planting scheme, so, we can either comment, add, delete, or what have you, so something that's fair. Sure.
The areas that are just grass, that were grass. I mean, do I address them, no, we're just leaving grass, does that mean you don't mow the grass?
In my mind, and what I heard from the public, I think the area where the driveway is encumbering into the easement is that issue. There were some portions on the front property that I heard as well, but judging from the pictures that they presented, in my mind, or from what I could judge, were not really affected.
Okay.
Phil, speak up,
You might want one in front of the driveway, though,
Yeah.
where
I
the
get
driveway.
it, but he's coming to seek relief.
It seems like in front of the driveway from the road, you may need one right there.
Well, there's just, like I said, there was weeds there, I could not mow it and leave it the way it was. That's where the water taps are, though.
Oh, so you can't put a tree there because the water taps are there.
There never was a tree, but I did disturb the growth on the ground, which was like a foot. It's still there, because you can see where I stopped. There's only growth like weeds, poison ivy and like viney stuff but no trees. And this is out by the street. Again, it's not really a privacy issue there. I could stop mowing it and let it grow tall, grass, but it's not.
that'll be unsightly.
All right, so at this point, we'd have to rescind the motion on the table right now, and then,
You can withdraw the motion and make a new motion to hold over.
All right, move to withdraw my motion.
And I was the second, so I moved to withhold.
all right, then I'll look
withdraw
for a
my second.
motion to hold this application over until the applicant can come back with further plan and details on the
At which
the
point will we
requested
open the
relief.
public hearing?
I'm sorry?
At which point we reopen the public hearing?
You can make a motion to reopen the public hearing.
Which we can make next month, if that's going to be when,
Correct.
and where, okay?
Assuming the applicant can come back next month.
I will make a motion to hold this application over.
Second?
All right, all in favor?
Aye. With the particulars, with a new submission.
Hold on.
A very detailed
Detailed
submission.
It's the same application. She's modifying the language to remove and/or diminish the conservation easement, and he will provide additional evidence in support of that prior to the next board meeting, showing you how he suggests you do that, and then you can then modify that further.
Phil, if he doesn't do it, then
We go down to deny.
Understood?
It should be prior to the next submission date, so
We
you have
may
that.
have to adjust the,
Because it's got to be advertised.
Correct. Yeah.
So it's got, Carl, it's got to get in before the next cutoff period, which is what, the 14th typically? All right, so you got some homework.
Because it'll have to be republished.
All right. I think I said that already. All in favor? Just for the record, we'll say it again.
Aye.
Okay. Meeting minutes from.
Secor, number 11.
Why do I keep doing this? Joel, I'm so sorry.
He doesn't like this case, Joel.
All right, number 11, Secor 78 LLC.
I'm recusing from it.
Motion, Rose has recused herself.
Motion to grant?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carried.
Now you can do it.
Now, look for a motion to approve the minutes from 7/23/2015.
So moved.
Seconded.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, that's it. Thank you, everyone. Have a good night. We'll see you the fourth Thursday in
September.
September. Thank you.